Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to another Friday Face-Off, where Toph and I talk about things that are going to get people's blood boiling in the hockey universe. Today's topic, guys, when, if, should you move up a level? We all know that parent of the 6-year-old who wants their son or daughter to play 3 levels up. Is that the best for the child? Is it not best for the child? When do you do it? When do you not do it? That is what we're discussing today. Toph tapping you in. Let's start it off.
Good start. Good start.
Yeah.
Hot girl. So what I will say is that I think there's a couple things that are, I don't want to say fundamental truths when it comes to this, but I would say they're as close to fundamental truths as possible. Number one is not every situation is the same. So we are not going to give an answer that's you have to do this or that or the other thing, because a lot of it depends on talent level, emotional maturity, where you're at in the country, and a whole host of different reasons, right? So like the last thing I want to do and we want to do is say like, hey, you have to do this, because that's just not fundamentally true. So that's number one. Number two is that typically the marathon way to go is way better than the rushing way to go. We have seen so many more players who have rushed it, lost their confidence, lost their passion for the game, had a really bad experience than we have from people what at the higher levels call marinating at the level that you're at, making sure you're very, very ready to move up before you do. That's typically the better way to go. And that's from like mites all the way up to pros. Like those are conversations as a college coach we were having all the time with players that were NHL draft picks or free agents that were potentially getting looked at to sign a deal. It was like, okay, let's talk about if we're ready for this or not. Let's talk about if we're ready, number one, hockey-wise. Let's talk about what the situation is going to be like, where you're potentially going to go and where you're going to fit in the lineup, where you're going to fit on their roster. Let's talk about if you're emotionally and like mentally, maturity-wise ready to go. Those factors are very, very, very important, especially on like the emotional maturity side of it. Because if like typically if you're being asked to play up a level or you want to play up a level, you are going to be the best player or one of the best players on your team. However, like you might not have the emotional maturity to, if you go up a level, there's a pretty good opportunity that you're not going to, or pretty good chance you're not going to be the better player or the best player on that team. So you're going to go through some adversity. You're going to have to learn to sit on the bench. You're going to have to learn maybe to not be on the ice in 6-on-5 or 5-on-6 situations, 4-on-4 situations, power play, penalty kill type stuff. So typically, and I think if you talk to any high level hockey person, whether that's like a pro college or just like a really knowledgeable youth hockey person, they will tell you for the most part, and again, not every situation is created equal, but the marathon way, marinating where you're at, dominating the level that you're at before you go is typically the right choice. And that's A to AA to AAA, midget hockey to junior hockey to college to pro. That's the same conversation with all of it. So I wanted to preface it with like those two things. Not every situation is created equal. And also like the marathon route is typically the better route.
So I played up 1 year when I was supposed to be a second-year squirt to first-year peewee. But the rule at the organization was you had to be ranked in the top 3 players at tryouts.
Yeah.
So like all the coaches ranked every player in tryouts, and you had to be ranked top 3 in tryouts. And I think that's a great rule. You know, like Toph said, if you're going up just to go up, but you're not going to be one of the best players at that level, like does it really make sense? Like, would it be better for you to be playing the 6-on-5, the 5-on-6, the power play, the penalty kill, all those types of things? You know, and a big thing too, as a player who, when I was young, I played up a year, and especially a big year. Like I was in fifth grade playing with eighth graders. That is a big difference in what's happening outside of the rink. I probably learned some things that I didn't need to learn in fifth grade that eighth graders were talking about in the locker room and things like that. And that's something that obviously me as a kid didn't think about, and I'm sure my parents didn't think
I
about
would say
either.
the same thing being a 16-year-old playing junior hockey, like, and playing
Yeah.
with 20-year-olds. Yeah, you're like, whoa, this is
Whoa.
new.
This is
Hadn't heard that before.
haven't heard those terms, those words, or anything like this before. So yeah, so I learned a lot earlier than everybody else, because especially in St. Louis, fifth grade is the end of elementary school, and eighth grade is the end of middle school. So those kids are getting ready to go to high school. I haven't even been in middle school yet. So pretty large difference in what's going on outside of the rink. So I think one of the biggest factors also is the players' emotional and mental maturity and things like that. And I think that's something that you really have to take into account. But I really just urge people to think about, like, and you can't. I don't care if a coach tells you, "Oh, you're going to play first line, you're going to play power play, you're going to play penalty kill." Well, if you go up and you don't play well, you're not going to be first line, you're not going to be power play, you're not. So you can't really listen to coaches on that. You can say, "Hey, he's going to get every opportunity." Take that into account, but like you got to decide what type of player is my kid, what's going to help them develop and round out their game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we talk about this stuff too, the like we can talk about things and what we've seen. We can also talk about things anecdotally from our own experiences. And so like I think it's important. Like I'll give my 2 cents based on my experiences. So first of all, like growing up, I think we've talked about this before, but like I was really good. I was really good as like a younger player.
Wolf was disgusting, guys. He won't say it.
So,
He was
I
literally
played up a
disgusting.
lot, like in mites and squirts and peewees. And this is when you didn't play AAA in mites and squirts. There was a rule against it. There was none. And so I played up as an 85 with like the 84s a lot. And then my first year AAA, I did the same thing. I played on the 84 AAA team. However, the next year I got cut. So I had to play down at my age level. Best thing ever. It was the best thing ever because I learned to be the guy, like, again, you know, and as everybody else was getting a little bit bigger and stronger and I necessarily wasn't, like, it was great for me to go back down to my level and start to dominate again. And the funny part about it is that throughout the year, there were some injuries on the 84 team that cut me, and they asked me to like come up and play. And I had regained so much confidence going back and playing at my level that I was all of a sudden the best player in the games when I was playing at the 84 level. And they asked me to stay with the team. And I said, no, thanks. You guys cut me. I'm going to stay loyal to this team that accepted me. And then ended up winning the national championship with some of those guys 3 or 4 years later down the road. Again, marathon, not a sprint. People think it needs to be a sprint at 8 years old. I was like 12 at that time. And you talk about like college and NHL people saying marathon, not a sprint too. The other thing is junior hockey. I went too early, man. Like I went too early to play junior hockey, and I had thoughts about quitting hockey because of it. Me, the person who loves hockey more than 99.9 probably percent of the world, I like wanted to quit hockey because my experience from going too early and get like, again, that adversity to a certain extent helped me to be better down the road. But like I was in a dark freaking place. It was unnecessary adversity. I would have hit that adversity anyway if I went to junior hockey the next year or even the year after that, because you're always going to hit it when you go that way. So like, I feel like just like giving my experiences both as a young player in youth hockey, done it, went back, you know, regained the cut, like, and then did it, like, and then in junior hockey, like, I just feel from my experiences. And then as a college coach, I had the opportunity to watch so many kids from midgets to juniors and then juniors to college and then college to pro. Like that's my job, is to understand that arc and put kids in situations, whether we're recruiting them or watching other kids and seeing where their trajectory is. So I can educate myself on how to recruit the best kids and how to put them in a position to succeed so they can succeed when they get to school. I will tell you guys, like so many kids benefit from an extra year of midget hockey. So many kids benefit from an extra year of junior hockey before they get to college. So many kids benefit. Like there was somebody that that we're going to go way past this 10 minutes because this is a really important topic. But like, I had somebody tweet at me this week because I put a highlight clip of Lane Hudson from the Canadians, right? He's going to win Rookie of the Year this year. He's breaking records. Like, he's a phenomenal player. A lot of people were like, this kid needs to leave after his first year at BU and go play in the NHL. He's ready. He didn't. He went back. He played another year at BU, developed more, got bigger physically. He's a smaller defenseman. And then he went in at the time he was ready, and he's going to win the Calder Trophy because of it. Had he gone in a year earlier, again, maybe that happens, but probably not. Probably not. And so they're saying the same thing about his brother now, Cole, who's at BU. Like, he had this great year and all that, and they're going to play in the Frozen Four. And by the time this comes out, they would have had played that game already. But like, people are like, oh, he's got to go. It's like, no, he doesn't have to go. Like, marinate, be as ready as possible, because then you don't lose a year of development because you're lacking confidence or whatever it may be. So long-winded answer, but like, there's a lot of different scenarios that I can point to. Another scenario, like, you look at the NTDP. If you're the surefire, like, okay, and like, let's go play junior hockey at 16. Like, but there's a lot of kids at the NTDP that don't end up achieving their dreams of playing in the NHL because they probably went to junior hockey a year too early at the end of the day. And they probably would have benefited from playing another year of midget hockey and then going to juniors after that, because you get pegged, right? And you lose your confidence and you're playing a lesser role. And that's hard. Like, for those who have not gone through that, to be the best player and then to not be the best player is really hard mentally. It's really, really hard mentally. I know from experience. Vechs knows from experience. Pretty much, I would say 75% of the players playing in the NHL have had to figure that out at some point in their career, in some juncture. Typically for them, it's at the NHL level or maybe at the college level or major junior level, whatever. So like, it's just like over-ripening is important. And last thing I have before I kick it over to you here, I'm giving a lot of heat for you to kind of come back at me with, but like, we had a hockey think tank conference years ago, and one of the things we did was we had an NHL agent panel. And so we brought in 3 high-level NHL agents to come in to speak to the group. It was a bunch of kids and coaches and parents. And one of the guys that spoke was Scott Bartlett. Bartlett Agency, Bartlett Hockey. It's a really well-known, really successful agency. Like, I think their top guy is Cale Makar. So pretty good. And one of the things that he said I thought was really, really good, and what Scotty said was like, one of the things that translates to the next level, and the next level is the confidence in being the guy. Like, the confidence in being the guy that's going to dominate the game, right? And so like that, you talk about like hockey sense translating to the next level, speed translating to the next level, compete translating to the next level. Also, this confidence that you can be the guy, that translates to the next level too. And so that was a really salient point that I think was really, really important for the kids to hear and the parents to hear. Like, it's much better to dominate the level that you're at to go and then go than like hoping that you're going to be ready by the time you get there. So a lot there that I just threw at you. Go.
I mean, I totally.
I'm very passionate about this, as you can tell.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on all of that. You know, and if your player is thinking about making that jump and they're not like so far ahead of everyone else and they love being challenged and stuff, you know, you can do other things playing at the level they're currently at or they're supposed to be at to work on all these things while them still getting the opportunity to have the confidence in being the guy who everybody's looking at the end of the game when you're down a goal and you want the puck on their stick, or being in the defensive zone at the end of the game and learning what that means to be trusted at the end of the game and what you need to do. These are all things that will really, really help. But you can create constraints just like you do in practice on that player if he's going to stay at that level. You know, I talk about all the time, like, I wish somebody would have made me pull up more when I was playing, you know, midgets and bantams. Like, I was so much faster than everybody. If I got the puck, I was going to beat a guy wide. I was going to put my head down. But I didn't learn about spatial awareness and gaps and playing with my head on a swivel as I'm trying to, drive the net and pulling up and hitting guys, because I could just beat everybody wide until I got to USHL and I couldn't do it anymore. Even midget major, I stopped being able to do it as much. But, if I would have had coaches who were like, okay, in practice, Jeff, like, you're not allowed to beat anybody wide. We want you to work on pulling up or deception or whatever it may be. That would have added another layer to my game so that when I got to the USHL, I would have been more prepared to do those things than when we had 2-line pass and I couldn't just fly the zone and get a breakaway, So like, you can add constraints in practice and in games to these players that are better than everyone else, that is going to develop them more while also doing the things that Toph talked about, earning and learning what it means to be the guy and having the confidence, because that's really important. And guys, the most important thing in all of sports is playing with confidence.
Yeah.
Literally the most important. You
and
cannot
your mental
play
health.
your best.
Forget about just performance, mental health too.
Right. So like, you add in all these things to make that decision on what's best for this player and what's going to help them the most. But, take into account all of these different things that you can be doing.
Yeah. And with that, I want to add to your point here too, like talking about your experience and kind of like reflecting on it. When you look at, we talk about things translating to the next level. And these are attributes, these are qualities, these are characteristics that if you have them, they're going to help you succeed at the next level. The one thing that way too many people think is something that translates that doesn't is physical maturity, being bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. Because eventually, like, as you go up levels, whether it's older levels or like higher levels, people are going to catch up. And in your bubble, you might be the most physically mature person and be able to dominate games by what you talked about, by skating in a straight line and just being physically more gifted than other people. That there's a shelf life to that. And that does not translate to the higher levels, because eventually you are going to start playing with and against players that are going to be as fast, as big, as strong as you. So just reiterating Vechs's point, like when we think about the things that translate and the things that we want to instill in our players, hockey sense, competitiveness, confidence. Those I would say are like the big three on the Mount Rushmore, if that's what you want to call it. And so a lot of times, like, that can be developed and cultivated by being the guy at the level you're supposed to play at, instead of being physically mature and going up too early. Because a lot of times the players that are asked to go up are just the most physically mature kids that look like they can play at that level, when in reality, they don't have the other things that translate, that can make them successful at that level. So hopefully
everybody else starts growing, like you see a lot of those kids who, look like they're going to the NHL at 10. Well, they're just further through their physical developmental process than others, or 13. So like, that's a really, really important, Toph and I have seen this with so many players. They're 6'2" at 12 when everybody else is 5'8", but then they're not growing anymore, in the next 4 years. And you'll see everybody will start catch up, because the gap between them and the next player is literally one of the biggest reasons is their physical maturation. So it would probably be better for some of those players to stay at that level that they're at and work on the other parts of their game, so that in a year, 2 years, 3 years, when everybody catches up to their physical maturation levels, they've learned all these other skills during this time, instead of just skating around everybody or just overpowering players just because they hit puberty sooner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say before we end this, again, not every situation, I want to go back to this, not every situation is created equal. And are there potential times where it is good for a kid to be challenged to get up to the next level? Yes, there is. Like, if you're not getting better because you're that much better than everybody else on your team, where in practices you're not challenged, then that's potentially a time when, hey, okay, like let's elevate, right? Yep. So like Vechs and I are throwing caution tape a lot here, because we've, based on not only seen it, lived it, both of us, but seen it through all the players that you've worked with, all the players that I've coached, being a college recruiter. Like, we're cautioning people that the marathon route typically most of the time is the better way to go. However, like, are there times where it's best for a kid if he's not or she is not being challenged to go up to the next level? There are opportunities where, yes, that is the right play, especially in non-traditional markets, potentially, right? Where like, the kid is just like, they're not challenged. Like practices aren't fun because they're that much. So then maybe you go from AA to AAA, or maybe you play up with the older kids because you're going to get challenged a little bit more. There is an argument to be said. I don't even say argument, but there is an opportunity where that is the case. So hopefully we've given you a full scale. Again, this was a 10-minute episode that went way longer than 10 minutes, but like, this is really important. We get this question a lot, and we've also seen a lot with this. So like, hopefully we've given you some perspective that can help if you are a parent or if you are a kid in this situation to have some knowledge to be able to make a more informed decision.
Hear that show?
All right.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.